Alright, I've got my knife roughly shaped out on my bench grinder. I find that most of the time the easiest tool to use to get my rough shape out. Because this is a forged knife, you see it's not perfectly flat because my anvil is not perfectly flat. It's got dings and junk everywhere, and because I'm terrible at forging out knives right now. But it's not flat, so I need to take this to my 4x36, I think, sander and grind until the whole piece of metal, the whole knife is flat and smooth and shiny. And it's going to take forever, but that's the next step. And of course, if you don't have one of these bad boys, get one. And if you're not going to get one, use an angle grinder with a sanding flap wheel, which I think I would do right now too, but my sanding flap wheel is way worn down. So I'm going to use this. Don't do that. Oh man, this is going really slow because this is an old belt and it's worn out and it was a high grit to begin with. I really need to get some rougher belts, new belts, and this would go a lot faster. It's just going to take a long time, that's all. Alright, I have been sanding on this thing for about 2 years and 7 months, and it is now pretty good. It's not finished completely. I haven't sanded everything out. As you can see, there are some low spots and high spots and nasty spots in there. But also remember, this is before heat treat, and after heat treat we're going to have to do basically the whole thing over again, so I'm not going for perfection right now. I'll be fixing everything that's left after heat treat. The next step is to mark and drill the holes for our handle pins, or to grind in our bevels, and I feel like drilling handle pins right now, so I'm going to do that first. The pins I'm using are 3/16 nickel silver pins. Let's see if I can get some out here. There we go. 3/16 nickel silver pins that are 1 inch in length. I'm going to have 2 of them in the handle of this knife. You could put 3. This is kind of a toss-up, 3 or 2. I'm going to go for 2 because that's less of them to worry about. I'm just marking out where my scales are going to go with a pencil. So now I know where to put my pins, and I'm just going to eyeball this right there. As of making this video, I don't have a drill press vise, although I really want one, and will probably buy one soon. So I have to work this thing out on here with a bunch of clamps. And I generally have to get fairly creative. This clamp is too long. To attach the knife to like a block of wood or something like this, and carefully line it all up before I drill out my holes. So I'll go ahead and get this thing set up to drill out. That is about dead stinking perfect in the center. The next step is to grind the bevels. I usually freehand my grinds, and they turn out okay. I mean, I'm not that good at it. But, the best way to get a perfect bevel is to use a bevel jig. And I don't have a bevel jig. And for this knife, I thought I'd make one. So I'm going to see if I can make a really simple bevel jig out of a piece of wood. I've got a piece of hardwood here. I don't know what what it is, and I'm going to cut a bevel on one end of the board and then be able to stick my knife blade up onto that, and that will give me the bevel I need. But first I need to find out what the angle is that I need, and to do that I found this nifty little program on the computer. It's a bevel angle calculator, and you plug in what you need and it gives you what you need. So check this out. Alright, so check this thing out. The grind angle calculator. Choose knife. They have two options: chisel, single bevel, or knife double bevel. This is a knife double bevel. Choose my stock thickness, 1/8, grind height, like a bajillion different options it gives you here, all the way up to 2 1/4. For this knife I want to go 5/8. I hit calculate grind angle. But bam, there we go. It gives me 5.7 as my grind angle should be. So, go over here to the table saw. I've got the blade of the saw angled to 5.7 degrees. There we go. And I have a 5.7 degree angle on one side of my board. Alright, we are ready for the heat treat. Okay, now to see if it hardened, I'll take a file and run it across the blade. That is rock hard. The file doesn't want to bite in at all. We hardened it. I'm just sanding off enough of the scale that I can see bare metal, so that I will be able to tell when the steel changes color in the tempering cycle. And now, to temper this thing, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the toaster oven at 400 degrees for 2 hours, or 2 cycles of 1 hour each, letting it cool down between cycles. You know, there's only one thing better than Christmas. Brand new 80 grit belts. This will go a heck of a lot faster than last time. Now remember, we've got to be very careful because this thing is tempered now, Gotta be sure to keep it cool. If it gets too hot and the metal changes color while grinding, you've ruined the heat treat and you've got to redo all that, because the knife won't hold an edge now. So be sure and keep this thing cool. I've got a thing of water right here that I'll dunk it in as I grind to make sure we don't overheat the steel. Born, oh, 95, oh, night, when Christ was born. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow's glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. 3 years, 13 months, 27 days, and 3 hours and 25 minutes later. There we go. Now I only did the sides of the blade, not the tang, because the tang doesn't matter. As long as it's clean, it will be encased in the handle, obviously, so you'll never see that, so it doesn't need polished up, so I did not worry about that. Now I'm going to go and finish up the grind on this blade. Okay, now as I said in the beginning of part 1, the other video, I'm going to be making the handle of this knife out of pink G10. Now before I get started, I should probably say a few things about G10. It's actually a pretty nasty material. It's basically fiberglass, so when you're grinding or sanding it, you're putting large amounts of glass fiber dust into the air, and it's really, really bad for you. So you've got to do this in a well-ventilated area. I'm going to open every window, open the doors, turn fans on. I'm going to try to contain the dust as much as possible by dipping it in water, which should try to help the dust stay together. And also I've got a shop vac hooked up to my sander to try to contain as much of the dust as possible. You also want to wear a mask or a respirator. You have to wear a mask. It's a skin irritant too, I believe. Fiberglass, make you itchy and stuff, so, try to keep it off your skin. I'm going to wear gloves. A better choice instead of G10 would be micarta, because it's not made of fiberglass. It's made of canvas or paper suspended in epoxy resin, and that's a bit safer to breathe in and stuff. It's not as bad for you. But I got G10 because it comes in more colors and it comes in pink, so I'm going to have to use G10 for this knife. Just know that before you start, grinding away at a piece of G10, because that could be really bad for you. Also, you will not be able to cut this stuff with a saw. It will destroy any toothed saw you want to throw at it. Don't even try. It will. It's ridiculously hard. Although surprisingly, it's not too bad to sand or grind. It's pretty weird, actually. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First things first, I need to cut this piece down to size. And I'll do that right now. That's a fairly creative way to cut G10. Bet not many people do that. This is white fiber spacing material. Alright, now to be sure that the epoxy gets a really good grip on these scales, I'm going to go ahead and scuff sand the back sides of them. These are just to help keep my hands clean because this stuff is real sticky. It gets everywhere and it's a pain to get off. I don't have the nice ones. These are like food processing gloves, which are silly for this, but I don't have any other ones. The biggest thing is to make sure your blade, tang, not blade, this is the tang. The biggest thing is to make sure the metal is clean and free of all oil or anything else that could prevent the epoxy from sticking. Okie dokie. Let's see if I can stick this thing together. It's like a puzzle. And this is why I wear gloves. Ugh. Ridiculous. And be sure to wipe up any remaining epoxy that got onto the blade, because you can't get that stuff off later. And now we wait patiently for several years until the epoxy is cured. Alright, so even in the little bit of grinding on the G10 that I did, it, made all kinds of dust, nasty dust that you shouldn't breathe, and the dust doesn't want to leave the shop, and it's bad for you and irritating to your throat, and it'll get in your lungs and be really nasty. So I don't want to do it in the shop anymore, and actually I don't think I'm ever going to use this stuff again. It's really nasty. Use micarta, it's much better, a lot safer. But I still have a knife to finish up, so I am moving outside. Holy crud muffins, that thing is sharp. Great mother of Abraham Lincoln.